Hello and welcome to the session on FYRE, the first year research experience. My name is Dr. Merle Massey. I'm the coordinator of the undergraduate research initiative here at the University of Saskatchewan. My office has a mandate to help all students at the University of Saskatchewan to have a mentored research, scholarly, and/or an artistic experience while here as a student. And one of the ways that we do this is through the FYRE program, the first year research experience. Now, what is FYRE? What it is, it's embedded right in the curriculum. We want to make sure that as many students as possible have a mentored research experience, and the best way to do that is to embed it right in the classroom. They are designed by course faculty, and so they're specific to the discipline. Students might have multiple FYRE classes or multiple projects, but they all will be a little bit different. They're a course-based research experience. Most of them are at the first year level. Students will tell me, I'd love it if more courses had a FYRE project. Often a senior student who ends up in a first year FYRE class will say, where was FYRE when I was a first year student? These are some of the most common things that students have to tell me about their FYRE experience. And we'll end this presentation with some of the things that students tell me that they've learned from doing FYRE. But first I want to tell you, how is FYRE different? Normally, as a University of Saskatchewan student, you've come here graduating out of grade 12, you've done a lot of memorization to get here. Well, congratulations, well done. But what we really want you to learn at the University of Saskatchewan is how to create new knowledge. So FYRE is one of the first steps to move you from being a consumer of knowledge, being a passive memorizationer, to being becoming a critical user of knowledge, and then eventually to becoming a producer of new knowledge. And this is how we do it, research as a way for students to learn the content of your class. So while doing a research project, you're going to learn how research is done in your particular discipline. You're also going to learn a lot of content that you're going to be able to remember as you go forward into the work world. So we move students from consuming knowledge, that passive memorization, to becoming critical users of knowledge, so learning how to evaluate, and then how to work with data and apply that new knowledge, and then to practice producing new knowledge. So actually creating and building new research, new scholarly, and new artistic works. So the first year research experience, and it doesn't matter which class you're in or which discipline you're in, we ask faculty to create a project that moves students through the research cycle. So you move through question, investigate, and share. That's what we call the research cycle. And this is how it's defined. So the question is to help students develop and clarify a researchable question. This is not an easy skill. This is something that even senior researchers continue to struggle with. The ability to create a research question that is interesting, that's researchable, and that you can come up with an interesting problem to solve is one of the first steps of becoming a researcher. The second level is to investigate. So once you've created a research question, to collect the data, collect the scholarly knowledge, to use the tools of the discipline that you're working in to answer that question, or at least to investigate it and find some different and unique avenues and put things together in a new way. And then to share your findings with people beyond the professor. So a 5-page or a 10-page essay, which is what I had to do as a history major back in the 1990s, that only the professor read, that's not what we do in a FYRE class. We ask you to share your findings with people beyond the professor because it allows you to create a higher level order of learning. You need to understand it well enough yourself to explain it to other people in a very simple way that other people can easily understand. One of the critical pivots in a FYRE class are the research coaches. They are hired and attached to your class. It's a paid position. They are there to coach you through that FYRE research cycle. So question, investigate, and share. They are the primary student support for your FYRE project, and they are there to help. Please ask them. Very little of their time is spent on marking. Most of their time is going to be spent on giving you feedback on your research question, on how you're conducting your analysis or finding your data or finding your sources to conduct your research, and then giving you some feedback on how you might share it with other people. Those are the areas that we ask research coaches to help you with. And they are all senior researchers themselves, but they're not professors. So they remember what it's like to be a student, and they might be able to identify where your sticking points are and to help coach you through them. I wanted to jump into the things that students tell me they've learned from a FYRE project. And I've broken it down to 6 areas specifically of student skill development. My office is very interested in student skill development at the university-wide level. We want to make sure that students coming out of the University of Saskatchewan have the skills, not just necessarily the disciplinary knowledge, because after all, there's Google, we can always find things. But these are the skill sets that we're looking to help you develop as a student here at the university. And the first that students tell me that they gain from a FYRE class are research and scholarly skills. So that ability to find and evaluate information, to evaluate sources, to evaluate data, to evaluate journal articles, and to find which ones are actually good, readable, and accurate. It also helps you to build your skepticism and question your assumptions. Question what you think you know and build on that. The second area is intellectual flexibility. Students tell me that a FYRE class helps them to manage change and to embrace uncertainty. And this isn't easy, and it's not safe. It is a measure of you being able to jump in and try things out. It's also contributes to your intellectual flexibility to learn different ways of knowing and learning. Here at the University of Saskatchewan, we really value not just different disciplines, but different ways of knowing, different cosmologies, different ways of looking at the world. Indigenous knowledge, Indigenous ways of knowing, for example, are very highly valued at the university. A third area that students tell me that they learn are discovery skills, specific to the discipline, but whatever the collection or the data methods that are specific to the discipline, you will learn them or at least come to appreciate them a bit more through your FYRE class. It will also help you with your ability to analyze and synthesize, report, and review within this particular discipline. The next is project ownership. Students tell me that a FYRE class, because they had a hand in actually developing the research question and choosing whatever it is that they're going to conduct the research on, it really develops your self-motivation, your independent thought, your persistence, and your grit. And these are all areas that can't be measured, but we definitely want you to grow these skills as a student at the University of Saskatchewan. Collaboration skills. Some FYRE classes do group work, but not all. Your class might be doing an individual project, and that's fine. In all cases, you will learn project management skills, and that's part of your collaborative skills because you're going to collaborate between this class and other classes and build all of your skill sets, your project management, your time management, all of these things. You'll also have peer feedback, both from your research coaches and in some cases from your peers in the class, and to have feedback from your colleagues, especially when you go to share your findings and help you to evaluate what you've done, what you've learned, and the areas where you can have a little bit more work and develop your skills even further. The last area that students tell me that they learn from a FYRE project are communication skills. It helps you to understand a project deeply and then to explain it to a broad audience. One of the goals here at the University of Saskatchewan is for all of our students and our faculty and staff to communicate substantively, persuasively, and clearly. Now, some of the things that FYRE students tell me about their project, this is one of the number one worries. Students say that only A+ students can be good researchers. I'm here to tell you that's not true. Our data here at the university tells us that the best FYRE students are not necessarily those with the best marks. Your ability to memorize doesn't really have anything to do with your ability to be a good researcher. Your grit, your determination, your interest in your research project at hand, so make sure that you develop something that you're interested in learning about, and your ability to do project management and time management and get your project to completion. That's where we see a whole set of skills that have nothing to do with memorization. And some of our best FYRE students aren't necessarily our A+ students. It does help, though, with your marks and your grit. So FYRE projects have demonstrated an increased final marks. It will help you overall as you excel as a student. It also helps decrease dropout rates. People become so engaged in their FYRE projects that they stick with the class, even if the content may be a little bit difficult. You're so interested in what you're doing that you're willing to give it a go. So good for you. Some of the other things that students tell me that they've developed as skills is that FYRE increases your confidence, especially if you're asked to do a research project in other classes. Because we've given you a mentored experience with FYRE, that develops your base load of research skills, and you're going to go into your next research class or your next research project with much more confidence. They're also a source of pride and accomplishment. Students will remember their FYRE project for years and years afterward. You'll also go home and tell your mom and your dad and your grandma and your crazy great uncle about your FYRE project. It happens all the time. And finally, students report increased skill development. So they increase their ability to find sources, to decide which sources are good and which aren't, to analyze your sources, to interpret your findings, to put it all together in a way that makes sense, and to present your findings to other people. So all kinds of skill development along that whole research arc. Students tell me that this class stood out. A lot of students really, really love their FYRE project or love their FYRE class. Students also say that I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it, but I'm so glad I made the choice. I'm glad I stuck with it. I'm glad I stayed in my FYRE class. Some students will be honest and say it was extra work, but it was worth it because of that skill development that they gained from doing the FYRE project. And finally, students will tell you, please try it and step out of your comfort zone. Enter into research and see what happens with you. Because here's the key. Your mind is not a vessel that needs filling. That's not our job here at the university, is to fill it full of stuff. Your mind is wood, and the only person who can ignite it is you. The sooner you ignite your mind to become a voracious learner and a voracious developer of new knowledge, the better your university experience will be. I encourage you to stay connected with my office, the Undergraduate Research Initiative here at the University of Saskatchewan. Take a snap of this QR code. It will give you all of our socials. We do a lot of work around research skill development and overall skill development for students here at the University of Saskatchewan through a number of our programs, including FYRE and including SURE, the Student Undergraduate Research Experience. I encourage you to connect in with me, especially if you're interested in getting other experiences in research and maybe even landing a summer research job. And with that, thanks so much for staying with us today.